Hi everybody, I want to tell you all about this new video that I have made, which is about a very good friend of mine. His name is Christophe, one of the best horse trainers in the world. So have you ever seen a French guy with liberty work with a lot of white horses? Then that's Christophe. I met him a few years ago at Store Yesterday in Denmark, biggest horse event, where he performed and he did this beautiful, beautiful show. And I want to tell you the whole story. I don't know if you remember, but a few years back in Denmark, there was all this stuff about the traditional dressage riders being too rough with the horses. And this was Andreas Helstrand. And because of that, everybody got a little bit defensive and they were like so alert of what they were seeing out there on the show fields. And everybody was alert about horse cruelty. Anyway, Christophe did this beautiful show in Denmark with his white horses performing free, riding in a cordeo, standing up on them and doing all this beautiful, beautiful stuff. And in Denmark and Store Yesterday, in the big arena, there's grass all over. So it's a difficult frame. And where Christophe lives, in France, southern France, all the horses, they perform on arenas like this footing. So they're not used to be trained in grass. And that day in Denmark, his horses, they went out to grass because they were all worked at liberty. What he uses to control them is the sound of a whip to make them come close, to make them come into him. See, if he was a guy that would hit his horses would be afraid and they would run away. But his horses, they came back. And in the end of the Danish show, all the horses, they worked perfectly with him. But he got a lot of criticism because people thought that maybe he was being too rough with the whip, maybe he was using too much body language. And they were afraid that he was going to hit the horses, which was very sad because when somebody goes out there and they show true liberty training, it's very beautiful and we all have to see that. One of his horses, he rode in a dressage exercises with a bit. And I asked him, how come you're using a bit when you have all this beautiful liberty training? And he said, well, I don't know how to do the difficult dressage exercises without a bit. I have never been taught that. So then I gave him one of my bitless bridles and I said, please use this. It will work just as well. Well, he gave me his card and he said, are you ever in France? Come by, visit me. And this year I did. I went to visit Christophe in France since I was already in France working with some other horses. And I stayed at his house and in his family. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I got to meet him and I got to meet all of his horses. And what I saw was that all of his horses had a lot of trust. I could go right up to them, I could touch their ears, I could touch them all over. None of them were afraid. He showed me, demonstrated a beautiful, beautiful show on his arena where all his horses listened perfectly. And so amazing. And he told me with tears in his eyes about the Danish show where the horses went out to grass. And he asked me what I thought of his work. And I said, I think you're one of the best. It was just amazing, and I'm just so proud to know him, and I know that I'm in the future is going to collaborate with Christophe and do some extraordinary clinics. And here now I want to show you what happened the next year in Store Yesterday. They didn't invite Christophe back because of all the criticism. Instead, they had some other French artists coming that rode like this with bits really hard with the white out of their eyes. And everybody in Denmark at that time was standing up, clapping. This was what everybody wanted. When I visited Christophe in France, I asked him, have you been riding with my bitless bridle? And he said, I don't know how. So then I showed him how. And guess what happened? The next week, Christophe performed a big show in Bourgogne in France, where he performed in my bitless bridle. He's also more calm, more happy, more willing. And afterwards, he told everybody that he's going to change all of his horses to bitless. Whoa, what an achievement for such a knowledgeable guy to take in this new knowledge. He's really a guy that stands for welfare. And I want the whole world to know that. And I hope that we can all unite and bring Christophe back to Denmark, because the world can't miss this kind of knowledge.
De faire des rencontres dans le monde entier comme j'ai fait. Depuis 1985, je suis allé de partout dans le monde, que ce soit en Allemagne, au Danemark, en Belgique, en Espagne, en Italie, de partout. Eh bien, j'ai fait des rencontres qui m'ont permis de progresser. Et là, dernièrement, de rencontrer Mia, eh bien, ça me permet encore de passer encore une étape supérieure. Et l'objectif, apparemment, il y a pas mal d'objectifs avec Mia, de pourquoi pas collaborer ensemble pour essayer encore de progresser autant elle que moi sur beaucoup de choses, et de faire pourquoi pas par la suite faire progresser d'autres personnes dans le monde entier comme elle a aussi envie elle. Alors c'est vrai qu'en même temps ça a été assez court par rapport à notre rencontre avec ce filet avec Mia, et je me suis focalisé sur le filet cette semaine et sur mon travail cet après-midi, que ça, avec tel cheval. Mais par contre, moi je suis quelqu'un qui essaye d'être posé, et par la suite l'objectif c'est d'aller travailler avec d'autres chevaux comme ça. Tous mes autres chevaux qui sont pas encore en piste, comme un cheval comme Jazz, qui en gros est à un très bon niveau aujourd'hui déjà, mais qui est pas du tout encore entré en piste. Et celui-là va aussi goûter cet appareil-là bientôt. Et merci Emilia de tout ça, parce que aujourd'hui le cheval il était top. Voilà. Ah non, vraiment, vraiment. Après j'ai eu les ressentis, les écoutes de tout le monde là, de ma femme, de cette personne qui vient de me féliciter maintenant et qui vient de vraiment me dire qu'est-ce que vous avez été très bien dans la piste. Et c'était vraiment formidable. Donc si Mia elle m'écoute, merci beaucoup parce que vraiment c'était très très bien.
I was yeah.
When